not know what was next for me. I was playing a lot of sports, and that led me into wanting to maybe do something in fitness or something like this. 6 years into corporate life, I realized that was not for me, and I really didn't know what to do. And at a desperate search one day at work, after a particularly bad day, I Googled working from home, fitness, not really anything about nutrition because that was not my focus, but up popped an advert to become a wellness coach with Herbalife. I did not know anything about the company. I had never heard of Herbalife, but what I was open-minded, and I liked the sound of some of the promises, talking about part-time income, the ability to maybe travel, work from home. That was very appealing to me 14 years ago. And that was all I saw at that time. My vision was not bigger. My sponsor did show me the president's team. They did show me everything that could be achieved. But in all honesty, I wasn't at that stage. I was very excited about a part-time income that I could work from home that would allow me to be a mum. And that was really, really exciting for me. So I got to work, and it wasn't until I went to one meeting, maybe 1 month into using the products, feeling great, that I met people who were happy. They were purpose-driven. And this meeting, I must say, was in a school. There was maybe 20 or 30 people. It was not an expensive hotel. It was not somewhere really, really extravagant. It was a small school with happy people. And I was not a happy person at that point. But that was enough that inspired me. And from there, I saw more of what was possible for me. I saw people reaching the GET team. I saw them reaching the president's team. And I got the first proper look at the marketing plan, and that excited me. And me and my husband at the time, from there, we got to work. We worked evenings, weekends. We gave up Netflix. Okay, we squeezed Herbalife into those little parts of the day to allow us to build our business. I fell pregnant at the same time, and round about the time my son was born, after about a year and a half into our Herbalife journey, I was able to give up my work. My husband at the time was 6 months after me. So for the last 12, almost 13 years, this is what I've done full time, and it has completely transformed my life. So if I can just show you my slides, my progress, if you like. So the first picture, now I'm going to move on. Here we are. Sorry, guys. So the first thing that Herbalife has given me is better health, better fitness, and better nutrition. Believe it or not, the picture on the left, this was me at 22 years old. I was playing basketball. I've played basketball for 30 years. I've played at international level. I've represented Scotland at a junior and a senior level. But at no time did anyone ever speak to me about nutrition. Maybe being Scottish, that's part of the reason why it's not a focus really in our country. It is better now in sports, but at the time, this was not our focus. So as it says there, my diet was really carb heavy. I did not eat protein. I did not eat fiber. As a family, we didn't drink water. And I just thought I could train. And that was all I would need to do. And I could stay in good shape. And I used to tell myself things like, I'm obviously, and I don't know if this translates, but we say this in the UK, I'm obviously big boned, I'm curvy. And I had no idea it was just because I had no control of my nutrition. So my weight was up and down. The picture on the left is a particularly bad time, but I might have been slimmer, I might have been heavier, I might have been slimmer, I might have been heavier. The point is, 14 years later, 2 children later, I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old son. I'm 40 now, and I just feel fitter, I feel stronger, and I feel like I'm getting better year on year. And that is why I'm so passionate about these Herbalife products. There's barely a product I don't use. If I don't, it's probably because it's designed for a man or it's designed for a type of sports that doesn't really fit with me. But I am a complete Herbalife lover and will use every single product that I can because it makes me feel fantastic. But what's also given me is everything I joined for in the first place, the opportunity to be a mum. I've been able to take my children to school. I've been able to go to all their events, their school activities, the sports. And for me, the number one example of a healthy, active lifestyle and the number one example of having grit and determination and a great work ethic starts at home. And that's where I wanted the children to see our first example. So we're always running, we're always playing sports, we're always doing different things. And I laugh because I put the picture in the top right as a school sports day. And my sons, they got stickers for coming in first, second, third. And of course, there was the parents' race. And my son would tell you it's no big deal. But guys, it's a big deal as a mum on the sideline when your kids are shouting on you and they want you to get involved, be able to say, yeah, I'll go for it. And listen, if you win, which I do, that's nice. But there are so many mums that do not get involved because they don't feel fit, they don't feel able, and they feel embarrassed. Okay, so the company has given me these little moments I can share with my kids. And it's given me the opportunity to spend time with the people I love, family, friends, and to meet people. So most of my best friends now are in Herbalife. To travel the world, amazing cities, amazing parties with some incredible people is just fantastic, something I'd never dreamed of. And we're now coming up for our 13th Herbalife vacation. We're really excited about Dubai, to take my children around the world, and for them to have friends in different countries is really, really special. And to be around children that are also from purpose-driven families, that is really, really fantastic for me too. And finally, one thing I always say to people is, when I joined Herbalife, people join Herbalife for one reason, but they usually stay for many other reasons. Okay, I joined for a part-time income, but I stayed for everything else that Herbalife gave me. The health that I didn't know I needed, the nutrition I didn't think I needed, believe it or not, the business opportunity, the community, and then this last bit was the personal development. I did not join Herbalife to speak on stage, to speak on a call with you lovely people. That was not what I wanted to do, but over time, to be asked to share your story in a small room and in a bigger room and then maybe train on stage and so on has just been a complete blessing. I didn't think it was something I would love to do, but it turns out I do. And to be asked to then go to other countries, a picture of us in Iceland, to share and to pay it forward has just been incredible. And then ultimately to have reached the president's team after 8 years, and to have your name in Los Angeles in a little tiny tile on the wall is very special. And that's really a message, if you're new on the call or you're new into Herbalife, is you maybe don't know much about this, but to reach the president's team, where to be on that wall where there's maybe only around about 3,000 people over 46 years of Herbalife, for me, it's not about my name, but it's about the impact that our team are able to make in our communities. I come from a small town of 10,000 people, just to have my name in a little square in LA Live feels really, really special because of the impact that the team are making. So that's a little bit about me. But guys, everything we do, it starts with the products, and it started with this man. Mark Hughes was in LA 46 years ago. He wanted to change the nutritional habits of the world, okay? He started with just a few products, okay? He had his Formula One, he had his Formula Two, he was selling them out the boot of his car. And even in those first few years, he did fantastic business. But his vision was that when people come to your house and you offer them a tea and a coffee, Mark wanted you to offer them a tea, a coffee, or a shake. Okay, and when Michael Johnson joined the company later, it was the same. The way his goal was to help put a Disney product into every house, he wants to put a Herbalife product into every house. And guys, look where we're at now. We are now the #1 brand in active and lifestyle nutrition. We've got 5.1 billion in reported net sales and 1.7 billion shakes consumed. It is incredible. So we are well on our way. Now, a funny thing happened actually when I joined Herbalife, because you saw my prior picture, how I used to look before. You've heard me talk that I had no interest in nutrition. But funnily enough, as soon as I started having a shake for breakfast, people were asking me, what's in the shake? And I started to ask, what's in the shake? When up to that point, I had never looked at a single nutrition label in my life. But I did then make it my business to understand more about how these products were created, who created the products, because this was new. I grew up in a family, in a country where people had cereal for breakfast, we had toast for breakfast. We're not even somewhere exotic on the continent where we might have even had croissants or lovely pastries, very, very basic breakfast in Scotland. So suddenly I took an interest in who created the products, and I was blown away. And that now leads me to introduce a very special guest. So this guest has been a real honour for me, honestly, over the last couple of months. It's been 2 of my favourite months. He doesn't know that in Herbalife, to just understand more about him, his passion, his charisma for these products, and what really makes them special and what really makes them stand out. And that really is the purpose of this call, is to give you guys a deeper knowledge of Herbalife products, but also confidence. Confidence that these are the best products in the marketplace, because I've never been in a time where there have been more nutrition products. And if you're on social media, you're probably getting adverts all the time for different things. And what we want to do here is give you the confidence to understand why you should try different products yourself, but why you need to take these products to market, why you need to take them to your clients, and the results that you can deliver for people will be fantastic if you just know a little bit more and you have a little bit more confidence. So that leads me to introduce our very, very special guest. He's also from the UK, so probably a slightly slower and gentler accent than mine. But please do welcome to the call Senior Principal Scientist and EMEA Innovation Lead, Mr. Gavin Stanton. Welcome, Gavin. Hopefully you can hear us okay.
I can, Nicola. Thank you for that introduction, and hello, everybody.
Hi, Gavin. So before we get into really why you're on the call and what we want to talk about, obviously I've just shared why I joined Herbalife and what Herbalife has given to me. Now, looking at your credentials and where you've come from, and as you guys can see from here, and Gavin has decades of experience in this field. Okay, he's come from a very prestigious background. You can read everything there. It's just absolutely tremendous. So Gavin, given your skills, your knowledge, your experience, what brought you to Herbalife and why do you stick around us?
Okay. So to start with, it was I was approached by a recruiter, and a little bit like yourself, Nicola, it was a product innovation director for a company called Herbalife, and I hadn't heard of Herbalife at this time. So I did some digging, I did some reading, liked the sound of what I was reading, liked the look of the products, went for a series of interviews, and here I am almost 15 years later, still working for Herbalife. And what keeps me at Herbalife, Nicola, is essentially three things. It's the products, it's the people, and it's the brand. So the people, I mean, both my corporate colleagues and the distributors, such as yourself, Nicola, you are an incredibly passionate bunch, very empowered, very entrepreneurial. You know, I love your approach to the products. You're very involved with the product development piece, which we've never had before. And, you know, you bring all those skills in terms of what's going to work for you guys as a distributor. The products themselves, I mean, I came from the boots company and I thought we manufactured to a high standard. But, you know, Herbalife take that standard and then they raise the bar again and again, incredibly high standards. Everything's made to CGMP, which is a pharmaceutical standard, which is not typical in the food industry. And again, sort of blown away by that. Also, everything that sits behind the product as well. And the final one was the brand. I mean, when I worked for Boots, I worked a lot on the Boots brands, but I found more and more I was starting to work on proprietary brands. And I thought, I didn't sign up for this. I basically want to work on the Boots brands. With Herbalife, it's all about brand Herbalife, whether that's Herbalife or it's H24 or we've got our new HL Skin brand. But yeah, it's all about Herbalife, which I absolutely love.
Love that, Gavin, and we're very grateful to have you. And you mentioned there about the standards of the Herbalife product. So maybe you could share a little bit more about that, because I think for me, when I saw and I understood some about the nutrition, the regulations, the manufacturing, it'd be easy to assume that those are the standards for every nutrition company. And I actually had the great honor of being to Lake Forest in California and seeing some of the facilities myself. But again, that doesn't make me think that not every nutrition company has those standards. Is that the case, or are Herbalife further ahead?
We're further ahead, Nicola. I mean, I know I mentioned previously, but just looking at our sort of quality standards, as I said, we manufactured a CGMP, which is a pharmaceutical standard, not typically seen in the food industry. We don't accept an ingredient on a certificate of analysis. We test every single ingredient coming into our contract manufacturer, which is really unusual, but it's making sure we have the very best ingredients for our products. We stability test every product that goes into market. So we don't just put a formulation together, take a decision, okay, that's all right, and we'll stick a shelf life on it. It all goes through a stability testing program, testing at different temperatures, different humidities. We test for a minimum of 3 months to get a sort of assessment on the shelf life. But we keep those stability trials ongoing for up to 2 to 3 years, depending on the shelf life of the product. We also, every hero ingredient within our products is backed by at least 2 gold standard clinical studies, which is really, really rare. And we don't just accept the basic clinical study information. We ask for the raw data. We do a deep dive into that data to make sure all the statistics stack up, that what they're saying within the paper is actually correct. And again, this is just more of the rigor that we put into our products, and that we're sort of handing over to you, the distributors, to sort of sell them to your customers or use yourselves.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Gavin. And that, for me, gives me massive confidence. I feel like there's so much credibility because, again, when we're going to market and we're talking about having a shake for breakfast, if that's a new concept for someone or trying a different supplement for a different reason, that can be quite unusual for people. So for me, it's great to know about the level of testing. And again, versus maybe other companies that pop up here, there, we're not really sure what the standards are. So really fantastic. Thank you. So for us guys, it all starts, of course, with our breakfast, right? And I'm sure everyone in this call are having their shake, their tea, their aloe, and we are very familiar with the benefits. We're all feeling the benefits, okay? We're getting hydration, we're getting energy, we're getting the nutrition that we need. And that is always how our day should start, okay? And that's how my day has always started for 14 years, and that will not change. And of course, we're now going into a wide range of different areas. We've got vegan-friendly products where we all have tons of snacks. Okay, for me, it's a problem. There are now too many snacks. I can't fit them all in, or I'm going to be on a weight gain plan, I think, right? We've got gut health, we've got heart health, immune health, and of course, our brand new super exciting Herbalife Skin, which we'll have more on, of course, coming out to market very soon. But what Gavin and I have done is actually we've chosen a few of our favourite targeted nutrition products, the ones that we feel the most passionate about personally, the ones that particularly Gavin has more knowledge on and more insights to share with you guys, and the ones that we really think, and of course all Herbalife products can help your clients, but you can really take some great information to them straight away and help people, straight off the back of this call. So firstly, we're going to go to really one of my favorites, and of course it's in the lovely new packaging as well, very premium, is our Phyto Complete. Now I do call this my get out of jail free card. Now again, if that doesn't translate, if anyone is a Monopoly fan, I call it the forgiver of my nutrition sins. Now guys, that's not a health claim, of course, okay, but for me it just gives me an edge. I feel different since I've been using the Phyto Complete. I feel fantastic, and I do believe it has accelerated some of my results. Now, what we can, of course, claim is that the fitness, the active ingredient that's in our Phyto Complete, is proven to support the reduction of abdominal fat, okay, and the lowering of your waist circumference. But Gavin, when we chatted, it's actually so much more than that. Now, of course, that's reason alone for me to use the product and really enhance my results. But tell us about the other benefits that maybe the market are not aware of, which are really helpful, and are further reasons to obviously be getting involved with Phyto.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. I mean, there are, yes, to your point, many more benefits that we don't typically talk about with Phyto Complete. First and foremost, this ingredient, as I said earlier, is supported by 2 gold standard clinical studies. So this was actually 7 years in the making, this ingredient for Herbalife, because when the company came to talk to us, they'd done one gold standard study of 17 people. It wasn't quite enough, but what we saw was really exciting in terms of proof of principle. We saw a reduction in abdominal fat, waist circumference coming down. We saw inflammation markers being affected in a positive way, cholesterol levels coming down. So we thought, wow, And the other one is they'd also done a quality of life questionnaire, which we'd not seen before. So this was asking people how they felt after taking this product. Now, bearing in mind, this is a gold standard study, so we have a placebo group and a control group. And neither group knows what product they're taking, so it's completely blinded. And what they found was they got a statistically significant increase in those people filling the validated questionnaire out who felt better. There was a perceived feeling of, more energy. They felt better about themselves, which was amazing. And then what they then did a few years later was repeat that whole trial again with a large number of people. It was actually 68 people in the second study, repeating all the same parameters. But what, again, set this apart, this is what I was telling Nicola, is they also included an exercise questionnaire. Now, for the first clinical trial, they were asked to do 30 minutes of exercise a week. That was the only instruction they were given. On the second trial, they were not given that instruction. They were just left to their own devices. But what they found with this validated exercise questionnaire is not only coming back to the quality of life, they saw improvements, but those people who were taking the control and they didn't know they were taking the control, they felt more inclined to do exercise, more walking, a little bit more running, which we thought was amazing. So this is like the holy grail for sort of marketing people, that not only are you taking this product, but you're feeling different about yourself, and we thought that was brilliant. So super exciting. And I mean, yeah, like you, Nicola, I love this product. Really do.
Love that, Gavin. That is so valuable. And I think, a lot of people as well, they think it's all about the fat loss, but these other benefits are massive, because I know for me, what I do with that information that you've given me is when I'm then sitting down in my evaluations with my clients or with my prospects, I'm always asking lots of questions anyway, and I'll come to that in the end, the different things that we do ask. But one of the things we do ask is, where do you want to lose body fat from? And inevitably, they always say around the middle. Okay, so straight away, we can always have that in mind. And it might not be something I do mention in the first evaluation. As always, we start everyone on their core plan. But if when we're then following up, the question is then, do we want to lose a little bit more from this area because we're measuring in centimeters and so on? So for me, it's a natural place to say, well, this is going to enhance that for you. But not only that, people will always say in their first evaluation also that they would love to exercise more, but they don't have the energy. Okay, or they'll exercise when they lose some weight, So to be able to then use this as a way to help to hopefully speed up that process, as you say, feel more compelled to exercise, that would just be fantastic. So it's not a product, and we always say it's not just for Christmas because of the excesses. It's a product that people can certainly use for life to feel benefit every single day. So fantastic, Gavin. Perfect. So next, I want to talk about, again, one of your favorites, Gavin, mine too, Microbiotic Max. I am like the queen of gut health. I'm always concerned about all things fiber and gut, and I know, because I know how much it affects everything else, energy and immune health and so on. Now, there are maybe other products in the market which have probiotics and so on. They're in different forms. Sometimes they're in a yogurt form, sometimes they're in a drink and so on. What makes Microbiotic Max unique, Gavin? Why would this be a better option, or why are the standards or the quality of the ingredients so high?
Okay, so I would describe this product as a symbiotic, Nicola. So we've not only got a prebiotic, which is the food for the bacteria, but we've got the two, classic probiotic organisms as well. So let me cover the prebiotic first. So this is a branded ingredient called Bimuno. It's probably one of the most studied prebiotic ingredients, I like to say, on the planet, but it's got a lot of work behind it, 20 plus clinical studies, a lot of papers showing some amazing benefits. It also selectively works with the bifidobacteria and the lactobacilli found in our product as well, helps those organisms to grow. And what we also have with this prebiotic is they saw a benefit after 7 days. That was the clinical evidence with the Bimuno ingredient. That coupled with as I say, the two classic organisms, the Bifidobacterium lactis and the Lactobacillus helveticus, these are our two classic it's a classic pairing, if you like, of two very well recognized probiotic organisms. And that together, we have this lovely symbiotic effect of, and it's building your gut flora. We're claiming 2 billion live bacteria. And just a key point here for yourself, Nick, and the other distributors, that is the amount of bacteria actually left at the end of shelf life. We put more than that in to this product to guarantee that, where there are companies out there who will basically take the input level. So if they're putting 10 billion in, they'll declare that on pack. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that after a 2-year shelf life, and that's the other thing about this one, it does have a 2-year shelf life, there won't be 10 billion organisms left. So again, a little bit misleading, not with a Herbalife product. We say 2 billion on pack, we're delivering 2 billion at the end of shelf life.
Wow, that is amazing. And I think as well, because of the fact that it's so easy to consume as well, is fantastic. I know you and I are the same. Most people will have it in water, potentially. You can also just pour it on the tongue, do that first thing in the morning. That's what I do, which is great. And you can consume it that way. And also because you're getting virtually no calories either. It's not a case of having to eat something else, which might have sugars, might have calories, might have other things that you don't want for the sake of getting a probiotic, which, as you say, might not even have the higher level of live bacteria even left in the product. And again, for me, where I take this to market is when I'm in my evaluations, I'm asking people about their gut health. So I'm always curious, I'm always asking, because more and more people, and it might just be in our area, in our town, they've got some digestive concerns of some shape or form. So again, it's naturally something that we can start to talk about and potentially introduce into their plan, maybe in the beginning, but maybe after a little periods of time when they're ready to upgrade, if you like. So fantastic. And that leads us nicely actually to our next product, because what I probably didn't appreciate was how much or how these products could be used in combination. Microbiotic Max and Immune Booster. And of course, being this time of year, some of these people are more concerned about their immune health. But again, as we discussed, this is actually something that we could be using every day, no matter November, December, January, when it's very cold, but something we should certainly be working on. And when you and I talked, Gavin, you actually said 3 things: that it boosts, it primes, and it activates, which I hadn't heard before. What do we mean by that?
Okay, so just very quickly, Nicola, thinking about the Microbiotic Max before I answer the question, you're absolutely bang on, because a large chunk of your immune system is actually modulated through your colon, through your gut. So healthy microbiome, healthy immune system, so that's really, really important. So coming back to your question, sort of the boost, prime and activate. So these are sort of the 3 hero ingredients within this product. So the boost element is provided by the elderberry powder. So there is in vitro data to show that this has antiviral activity. So we thought we'd have a plant-based ingredient in there because we are Herbalife at the end of the day. We want our herbs in there. And, again, it had some supporting sites having a virus activity. The Epicor is the prime part. So what we have is this is a yeast fermentate, and the beta glucans. Now these aren't the same beta glucans in the Better Heart, which we'll touch on later. This is a slightly different structure, but they're still beta glucans. They actually bind to our neutrophils. Now the neutrophils are the most abundant immune cells in the body. They bind to the neutrophils, and then these are primed, basically primed and ready for action. So any pathogen coming in gets grabbed by these neutrophils. It's sort of part of your frontline defense. I think the biggest one, and we were really proud of this point, is back in 2010, the University of Copenhagen did some seminal research on vitamin D, which for many, many years was known for bones and teeth. Nobody talked about the immune system. They came out with this research to show that vitamin D has a pivotal role in activating your immune system, the B cells and the T cells, which are your frontline sort of immune cells. And we took the decision back in 2011 when we were first putting this formulation together, we were going to have vitamin D in our product. Now this, you think before the pandemic, before COVID, nobody was talking about vitamin D in the immune system. We already had it in our product. So it's a fabulous story for Herbalife. We have 10 micrograms, which is 200% of the reference intake, because that's the amount we felt was right to do this vitamin D support. So that combination of ingredients gives you the boost, prime and activate for our immune booster.
Perfect. Love that, Gavin. And again, as a berry drink, it can just be taken any time. It's very easy to consume. So those conversations we have to have are really around immune health. And it might be, again, with Herbalife products, we never claim to cure anything or do anything at all, but we can be proactive in starting to protect our immune system for sure. So, and you mentioned there as well, obviously, the Beta Heart. Now, this is one of my favorite products because for me, it's a bit of a combination product. And most people that certainly I see, a lot of people will come to Herbalife because they're looking for some sort of weight loss result. Now, people that have a lot of weight to lose, chances are that they might also have a cholesterol issue and cholesterol concerns. Okay, not guaranteed, but that can certainly be the case. Now, Beta Heart, or the oat beta glucans, of course, have been proven to control cholesterol. We can, with this product, we can maintain or we can reduce, right, depending on the amount. How does that work? It seems to be a bold statement. How can we say to people we can control your cholesterol when it's such a big concern?
Okay, so yeah, like you, Nicola, I love this product. It's very, very benign way of lowering your cholesterol. And as you said, we've got 2 approved claims that we can talk about on pack. The way it works is it's a very lovely story. So everybody's familiar with your bile salts. So this is what the body produces to basically digest your fat. It sort of emulsifies the fat and it allows it to be absorbed through the gut wall and into your bloodstream. What the beta glucans do in the Better Heart is they irreversibly bind to the bile salts, and then as they pass down through your digestive tract, they're ordinarily reabsorbed back into the liver to be reprocessed. Because they're now bound by the beta glucans, you don't do that. You absorb some of it, but not all of it. Most of it is pooped out. So your liver thinks, where on earth have the bile salts gone? And what does it need to use to actually create new bile salts? It needs LDL cholesterol. So very cleverly, it now takes what's circulating in terms of your LDL cholesterol and converts that into new bile salts. And as a consequence, your LDL levels come down, which is amazing.
Geez, that's, as I say, a bold statement. And I think with cholesterol being something that people have big concerns around, what proof do we have? Because obviously we're always trialing, we're always testing. We want to know, when we say it comes down, is it coming down a teeny amount? Is it coming down a lot? What's the proof? What do the studies show us?
So 2 forms of proof. The first one, Nicola, is this does have a proprietary approved claim in Europe. So the owner of the ingredient, which is stated on the front of pack, had to do clinical work to actually put to the European Food Safety Agency to get those claims. However, Herbalife, in our true fashion, as I said right at the start, we take it to that next level. We, back in 2016, actually kicked off our own clinical trial in Bologna, University of Bologna. Credit to my colleague Andrea here, who sort of led the charge. We took 80 people. We split them into 2 groups, so 40 in each group. We had one group on the placebo, one group on the control. They took this product for 8 weeks. Then we had what we call a washout period, and they crossed over. So 2 weeks without taking the product. Then the group on the placebo, but on the control, and the group on the control went on to the placebo. They didn't know any of this because it was blinded. So what we saw after 4 weeks, we saw a 12% reduction in cholesterol. After 8 weeks, we saw a 15% reduction in LDL cholesterol. And overall, for the trial, we actually saw a total reduction in cholesterol of 6.5%, which I think is incredible for such a benign product. Statins will give you a bigger reduction, but there are side effects associated with statins. Whereas for me, this is great.
Those are powerful numbers, Gavin. Yeah, and I think, real power in those numbers. And I think, as you say, it's a simple way that if someone has cholesterol concerns, they could just pop a scoop in their shake, that they're having already, without having to maybe go down a more drastic route of anything else that might be open to them. So I love this. And for me, it's always, I have 2 shakes a day. It's always in my second shake. It's my second source of fiber. My first one always has apple fiber. Second one always has the beta heart. And again, for me, it's about being proactive. I don't have cholesterol concerns. Well, maybe I do. I've never been tested, but certainly this is something I do to be proactive. And it's something I encourage all of my clients to do as well, because we do have a big cholesterol issue in Scotland. That is certainly the case. Most people are aware of their levels, and certainly after taking this, they can go away and get those checked by their local pharmacy where I live anyway, which is a great way, again, so we can have that confidence to say, go have another test, and we can feel confident that hopefully that will show results for them. So perfect. Now that moves us on to another hot topic, which is sleep. And I say hot topic because I see the conversation coming all the time online, and we're always concerned about our melatonin and how many hours should we sleep and what type of sleep and quality. And we have all this wearable tech now, which is measuring our sleep. So some people are becoming a little bit obsessed about sleep, right? And so that obviously then brings in our night mode, which we obviously want to use to help support sleep. Tell us about the night mode, because I know it's more than just a cup of tea. Sometimes people say that, why? Is this not just a chamomile tea, Nocola? Can I not just get that from the supermarket? It's much more than that. And also it's another product that we have future-proofed. Tell us about that, Gavin.
Yeah, so two elements to this product, Nicola, and thank you for the future-proofing prompt in my head. So the lead ingredient is a unique patented saffron extract. And what this does, and this is again clinically proven, to actually work with your own body's natural melatonin, increase those levels of melatonin, which initiates the sleep cycle. Again, what we can claim with this product, it improves sleep quality within 7 days of taking this product. We've also seen within the clinical evidence, improves your mood upon awakening, which I think is great for everybody, because how many of us wake up feeling grotty in the morning? It also helps resync your sleep cycle as well, this ingredient. So I say a lot of clinical evidence behind, which is, again, one of the reasons we chose to use this in our night mode product. The future-proof element, Nicola, relates to one of your favourite topics, as is one of my favourite topics, is the whole microbiome piece. We're seeing more and more work now on the gut-brain axis and these links to sleep, to stress, to mood. So we put in a soluble fibre into this product. We haven't yet quite got the science to support the whole sleep, but it's coming. So we wanted to future-proof this product, have the soluble fibre in there. So at some point in the future, as that science continues to build, we can then start to talk about, we have a soluble fibre in our product, which will help support this whole gut-brain axis story and, we've got, in our product, in our night mode product.
Thanks, Gavin. That is really interesting. So it's definitely more than just a cup of tea. And again, I think when we take this message to market, it's most people most people don't sleep great, in my experience. They don't sleep long enough. They're often talking about it's difficult to fall to sleep, or they're waking up in the night. And inevitably, when we're tired the next day, we don't eat properly, our blood sugar is lower, we're more likely to eat the wrong things, and then it has a cyclical effect. We're maybe too tired to exercise, so sleep is critical. So we want to obviously support better sleep. And of course, if you can wake up less grumpy, better. If your partner needs to wake up less grumpy, make sure you're talking to them about that too. But that is just fantastic. I think sometimes it's, maybe even amongst the younger people, sleep is something we're quite dismissive of. I used to think I didn't need a lot of sleep. It was just go, go, go. But as I've gotten a little bit older, it's apparent that I do need more sleep. And since the night mode came out, I'll even be honest, I wasn't maybe as consistent with it because I'm typically quite a good sleeper. But actually, since our conversations just started a few months back, I have been routine And I probably slept the best this last month than I've slept. And of course, there could be other things at play, but being more consistent has allowed me to sleep better on a personal level as well. So that's something I'm definitely sharing with my customers too. So what we're going to do now is we will move on to some 24. Some Herbalife 24. And of course, there are tons and tons of products in this range. And we would love to speak about everything. We'd love to speak about every Herbalife product, but we don't have the time. Okay. And we don't want to overwhelm everyone on the call. But what we will want to do is start with, of course, our most recent product, which is our Creatine Plus. Now, creatine in general is obviously one of the most talked about and common sports supplements outside of Herbalife as well. So I've known people for years that have used creatine in this form and that form. It's not something personally I've known a lot about because most of my nutrition information comes from Herbalife. And if we didn't have the product, it wasn't something I was necessarily researching at the time. And I think it would be fair to say that most people think of creatine as something that we use to get big in the gym. You know, it's maybe just for men. It's for people that just want to work out harder. This was the things I would be hearing in the gym. That's what creatine is for. But actually, it's for so much more than that. Women's health, healthy aging, so many different people, vegans and vegetarians. Tell us, Gavin, more about why everybody should be thinking about creatine.
Yeah, so you've already sort of touched on two groups, Nicola, women's health and healthy aging, sports and recovery, which I think is what most people know creatine for. And the final one is cognitive health. And again, this is pretty sort of new and emerging science. Creatine plays a pivotal role in our body. Everything in our body, certainly the muscles and the brain, and that runs on something called ATP. And where creatine plays a fundamental role is when ATP is sort of being burnt as the energy source, it becomes ADP, and you need the creatine to convert the ADP back into ATP. Now, so without the creatine, things suffer. You get creatine from the diet, but we can actually make our own creatine as well. Up to 50% of creatine we can actually synthesize ourselves. The rest comes from the diet. Now, you can't have a deficiency in the same way as you can a sort of a vitamin or a mineral, but what you can have is a suboptimum level. And as a consequence, if you don't have the optimum levels of creatine in your system, then, as you say, it takes you longer to recover from exercise. It takes you longer to recover sort of from injuries, this sort of thing, because this is powering everything within your body. It's key for, you've mentioned vegans and vegetarians, vegans in particular, Nicola, because creatine is only found in the animal kingdom. Red meat and herring are the most best sources of creatine. So on a vegan diet, you're typically not getting those. Well, you won't be getting those. So, you do need to supplement with creatine. There are a number of ways of doing this. You can, if you really want to get your creatine levels up to those optimum levels, you can have a loading phase. So the advice is 300 milligrams per kilo of body weight for a 60 kilo male female. That's 18 grams of creatine, or 70 is 21 grams. Take that for 5 days, and then you go down to the 3 gram dose. If you don't want to do the loading phase, you can actually go to your 3 grams a day, and you take that for 28 days. And at the end of the 28-day period, you should be up into your sort of optimum levels of creatine within your system. So, that's just some, more information on the role of creatine and why we should take it.
Perfect, Gavin. I think, as you say, there are so many more reasons other than just fitness. Actually, on a personal level, I've been using it since it came out. And you don't know if it's solely that, if you're just getting fitter and stronger anyway, but certainly I've noticed that for me personally, I feel like I am recovering more. I'm maybe increasing the weights that I'm able to lift a little bit more. And again, is it the creatine alone? I'm not sure, but certainly it feels to me no coincidence that that's something I've been using for the last few months and feeling those benefits. And a big conversation we're actually having in our nutrition club, because probably the biggest demographic of club members we have are women in that menopausal phase. And a lot of what we're talking about is creatine because, as you say, it helps to support muscle strength as they get older. That seems to be more of an issue at this stage of their life. So it's a conversation we're having more with the women in that age bracket than the younger men, which is exciting for us as distributors, of course, because we feel like obviously we can talk to more people about it. So fantastic. Now I'm going to move on next to fueling for exercise. Of course, creatine is a role in that, and every single product we do fuels in some shape or form, but in the moment, okay? And of course, we have different products that do that. Firstly, and perhaps most famously originally, is our CR7 Drive. Now, again, many sports drinks out there. I know because I have two children who play sports and they want to drink this, they want to drink that. And of course, in our house, that's not allowed. We will drink CR7 Drive because it's a Herbalife house, right? So, but again, other than me just, of course, being biased and loving CR7 Drive myself and knowing the benefits, why else should we be using or opting for CR7 versus other products that might be out there to fuel us?
So I think the key difference between CR7 and a lot of other products in the market, particularly electrolyte products, Nicola, is this carbohydrate content. That really sort of sets it apart because, we've got two really nice claims on CR7. And one is about sustaining endurance, performance during sort of physical exercise. And that's only possible through the carbohydrate content of this particular product. We have a mixture of sugars. We've got fast sugars and slow sugars. And we also have this claim around this actually enhances the uptake of water. So just taking water alone, CR7 will actually optimize your uptake of water. It's hypertonic in terms of the what we call it was a big word, isotonicity, because everybody's familiar with isotonic drinks. So this means the concentration of the drink is in the same concentration of the inside of your cells. So it's in balance. The beauty of a hypertonic drink is it's slightly more dilute than your cells. So what it actually encourages is water to move into your cells. So, this is another key part. We're only able to make these very specific claims because we've got a unique formulation. We had to have a certain amount of electrolytes in there. We had to have a high glycemic sugar, which is all part of the functionality of this product. But it's all those things bundled together that sets this apart. Plus, we've got the vitamin B1 and the B12 in there. So we've got some very, very nice claims around energy yielding metabolism. And as I say, it really is this carbohydrate electrolyte blend that makes the difference between that and just a standard electrolyte product, which is only going to replace your potassium and your sodium when you sweat.
Yeah. And is there anyone that should be using this? Is it appropriate for any sport, any fitness? What would you recommend?
I would say it's the more rigorous sort of exercises, HIIT exercises. If you're going to have a couple of hours on the bike, I think if you're just doing a sort of a light exercise, I probably wouldn't recommend the CR7 product because of the electrolytes and the sugars in there. Then if you're doing very light exercise, you could look at something like the hydrate product. But I'd say it's the more sort of physical style of exercises where this product is really suitable.
Something where you're needing to burn those carbs a little bit more, potentially. So a couple of stretches in your living room might not suffice, but something a little bit more, getting the sweat going and the rosy cheeks, yeah? Perfect. So moving on to another energy product we have is our Prolong. Now, again, most people will be familiar with energy gels, very common when people are doing longer distance sports and things like this, marathons, triathlons, and so on. And I have had it said to me when I've spoken to people about Prolong, I don't like energy gels because they play around with my stomach. I don't feel great. Sometimes I'm having to run to the bathroom in the middle of a marathon, which is not great. Does Prolong do that, or is it better or gentler, a little bit easier to digest?
Yeah, this one again, if you look at a lot of the energy gels in the market, Nicola, they have a fast sugar and a slow sugar because you need both. But it's a 2-to-1 ratio of the fast sugar to the slow sugar. And it's those fast sugars that cause this these GI problems when you're out for a run. And we've all seen these unfortunate photographs of people on the side of the road running marathons having overdone it with the energy gels. We've gone for a very different ratio. We've gone to 1 to 0.08. So we've got the fast sugar at 1 and we've got the slow sugar at 0.8. And it's that together which gives us your sort of unique blend and balance of sugars that doesn't lead to sort of the GI distress when you're taking these products or taking our H24 Prolong gel. Again, that's what sort of sets it apart from a lot of the other energy gels in the market.
Perfect. That's really valuable because that is a valid concern. Nobody wants to be in that situation. So fantastic. I'm definitely going to be sharing that with more of our fitness clients straight after this call, I think. So lastly, we're going to move on to our final product we want to talk about, which is our collagen skin booster. Now, this is another thing I'm seeing on my socials all of the time. different products, different brands, collagen, this, different types of collagen, and marine collagen, and vegan collagen. We'll come to that in a minute. Different types of collagen out there. And my customers are asking me about it. My customers are coming telling me they're trying a different collagen before knowing that I have collagen. So I would love to know why I can tell them why you're so passionate about it, because I know this is one of the products that are close to your heart, Gavin. But why should we be looking at collagen skin booster versus other collagens out there?
It's a great question, Nicola. And actually, we were having this very discussion early this week. I was doing a presentation to some of the senior leaders in our corporate team, and I got asked the same question. Well, I read somewhere you've got marine collagen, you've got bovine collagen. What really sets this product apart? I says, well, first and foremost, I said, we're not selling collagen. I said, that's the first point. They went, really? I said, yeah. I said, because what we're selling are bioactive collagen peptides. Because the problem you have, no matter whether you're taking, and independent of the source, if you're taking you see a type 1, a type 2, or a type 3, when you take those products, your body just sees it as a protein source. So it will digest it down to amino acids and peptides. What we've done with this product over 30 years of working in the sort of the collagen space is they have created these bioactive collagen peptides of a very specific chain length and a molecular weight that have got all the clinical trials behind them to show that they actually upregulate the production of collagen. Now, you could argue, someone, will say, taking bioactive collagen peptides, are they not going to be broken down as well by the digestive system? Yes, they will. But again, all the clinical evidence that these guys have generated shows there is still enough of these bioactive collagen peptides getting through into the blood system or the bloodstream to initiate this upregulation of the collagen, the chondrocytes, who are producing more collagen. And therefore, this is why you're seeing this improvement in your eye wrinkles and skin elasticity. And I think another one we don't talk about an awful lot with this product, I've never seen it before, is a reduction in cellulite. I mean, there aren't many ingredients out there where you can actually talk about a reduction in cellulite, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. And there are not many women who wouldn't mind a reduction in cellulite as well, and it can affect all women, no matter their weight, their size, body fat, it seems to be. So incredibly powerful for that. And again, I think because of these claims that we can make, and it's not anecdotal, it is backed up by the science. So fantastic. And I mentioned briefly about vegan collagen because I've had people say to me, Nicola, this is not vegan, I need to use vegan collagen. But after our conversations, I've realised that vegan collagen is not even a real thing. What do you mean by that, Gavin?
That's right. Yeah. Well, no, you're absolutely spot on, Nicola. It does not exist in nature. Collagen is only found in the animal kingdom, and these products that claim to be vegan collagen, often they will add vitamin C to those products because that does come with an approved claim around collagen synthesis. So people put 2 and 2 together and make 7 because they're seeing this collagen claim. But what the companies do, they are claiming vegan collagen, is they're putting plant-derived amino acids into their product and just calling it collagen. But it doesn't work in the same way. Again, you think about the Verisol P in our product, the bioactive collagen peptides. These are just amino acids. So you're not going to get that same level of activity. With that said, and we're going to touch on this about some future products, but we are working with a company who are building a vegan collagen using plant-based amino acids. They're sort of in the early stages of their clinical work, but we're working together with them, and it's probably going to be sort of 2-3 years away, where they will have a clinical package that will be good enough for Herbalife to be able to use and talk about, they call it a collagen mimetic. So that, they're not calling it vegan collagen, but, it will have the same effect as an animal collagen source. But really exciting, but that's at least 2 to 3 years away.
Perfect, Gavin. I know collagen is critical. Obviously, we've talked about the improvements for the skin and for cellulite, but I know, again, personally, it's something that's, for me, I feel like I've felt many other benefits as well. So fantastic, right? That wraps up all the products that we want to talk about. What we would love to do now is just to take a few minutes to talk about some of our ingredients and the different things that we use and why we choose to use certain things. Now, obviously, at the moment, we hear a lot about sugar and why we need to reduce sugar in our diet and so on. And, there's products out there with sugar that we wouldn't even know had sugar in them, you know, and I'm seeing reduced sugar versions of this and 50% sugar versions of that, and I didn't even know I had sugar in the first place. So sugar seems to be everywhere. Why do we use the certain sugars that we use? If we even take a Formula One, for example, why do we use fructose? Why do we use the amount that we use? What's your thoughts, Gavin?
Okay, so Formula One is a meal replacement, and within the European Union, that there are specific regulations that, in order to call a product a meal replacement, we have to meet, and part of that is the amount of calories we can call out. So it has to deliver between 200 and 250 calories. That's the regulation. Now you're only going to get those calories from certain macronutrients, so it's proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and fibers. Now, the carbohydrate essentially is the sugar, so we have to have some sugar in there. Because again, protein is limited, fat is capped at 30% in terms of the energy proportion. So we use the fructose for a number of reasons. It's a great sugar in terms of its sweetness. It's 1.7 times sweeter than standard sugar, so you get more bang for your buck, because, as I'm sure you'll agree, Nicola, we have shakes that taste amazing, you know, and that's taken us quite a while to sort of get there. And part of that is the fructose and what it delivers in terms of its sweetness. The other thing about fructose is it's a low glycemic sugar, so it does not initiate your insulin response in the same way as table sugar. You know, there is a delayed reaction, which is great, so you're not going to get the insulin spikes. And then the third one is fructose is typically a fruit sugar, so it's found in a lot of fruits. So a medium banana, will have a similar level of fructose to that found in a one serving of Formula One powder. You know, half a medium apple, half a medium pear will contain a similar amount of sugar. So they're all the reasons why we use fructose in our Formula One shake.
Of course, and we would have no qualms about having a piece of fruit at breakfast time or anything like that. So we should certainly not be concerned about those levels of fructose. And for all those reasons that you said are fantastic for opting for that sweetness, or that option to sweeten our Formula One. So thank you for that, Gavin. And secondly, I want to talk about the protein source. Now, obviously, there's different types of protein out there, whey protein, casein, and so on. Why do we choose soy versus other types of protein?
So most of our products, whether we're looking at a protein source, Nicola, are plant-based proteins. H24 is a little bit different because the market there demands sort of dairy proteins for reasons we can talk about at another event like this. But we use soy protein for one reason, and one reason alone, is it's a complete protein. And by that, I mean it has all the essential amino acids at the right levels that we demand in terms of the nutritional profile. Now, again, coming back to what I was saying earlier about Herbalife really raising the bar, we don't use the adult profile, which is published by the World Health Authority and the FAO. We use the 1 to 3 year old profile because this is the most demanding from, regarding the use of essential amino acids. And soy, even at that very demanding level, is still a complete protein. We find with other plant proteins, whilst they have all the amino acids in there, the essential amino acids, they have limiting amino acids. So even our pea protein, which we use in our F1 Free From and some of all our Turkish formulations, that is lacking a certain amino acid. So we have to add some of that back in to bring that up to a complete protein. Other plant proteins, again, they're not all created equal. So we see other plant proteins, which again, deficient, or have the limiting in certain number of amino acids. So we blend them. So like the tri-blend, that's actually a blend of pea, rice, quinoa, and flax. And those four together actually give us a complete protein. This is, I think, again, one of the strengths of this company. We have a very talented scientific affairs team who've built a very clever algorithm where you can plug in the amino acid profile of a plant protein, the digestibility of a plant protein, and it crunches away and it tells you whether you've got a complete protein or not. And then almost like the slider, I guess, on mixing a paint machine, you can slide your levels up and down to get to a point where you're now delivering a complete protein. And we use that algorithm for our tri-blend. We're doing some work at the moment, future work on potentially a H24 product. So yeah, this is all the stuff that goes on in the background. But I know it's a long answer, Nicola, but that's the reason why we use soy protein in our F1
No, but it
shorts,
makes
because it's
perfect sense.
complete.
It does make perfect sense because, as we've come to learn, not every gram of protein is born equally. And again, there could be products out there delivering, or apparently delivering, 20 grams of protein and 30 and 40, but there might not have the presence of all the amino acids and so on. So that's a question, certainly, if someone comes to us and says, what about this versus this? We can ask that question. What is the protein source? And we can tell them, well, that doesn't have those amino acids present, and so on. So we can really talk about the benefits of soy being the complete protein and plant-based. I know it's gentler, it's better for the environment as well, and there are many great benefits. Now I'm going to ask the question, Gavin, because I know some people might be thinking it on the call, and I've heard it occasionally over my 14 years of Herbalife where the odd person has said, I can't take soy protein because I'm a man. And as a man, it might give me what we call in the UK man boobs, soft chest, and it might shrink my testicles. And I can't believe I've just said that on an official Herbalife call, but I'm asking the question because it does get asked of us. What would you say to that? Is it a complete nonsense?
It is, Nicola. Yeah, it's a myth. We have numerous studies, all available on file, that showed the soy isoflavones, which are the compounds that they're talking about, the amounts being delivered in any Herbalife product are having no effect on hormone levels. So all you men out there, you can rest easy that taking any Herbalife product with a soy protein, they're not going to do all those things that Nicola described. And I'm not going to mention that word on the call.
Perfect. Thank you, Gavin. So we can continue to have our formula and shakes and we will not be less manly for it. Okay. Or manly for it. So fab. So guys, hopefully that's been really, really helpful. I already feel more inspired again, more people to talk to, more people to share more products with. And that just leads us really to talk about the future, I think, because I know there are certainly a lot of exciting things happening. We have just seen the release of the new Rebo Strengthened Sachets, which is fantastic. So even for us as distributors, we can be taking it to the gym, we can be traveling with sachets because the bag right now is quite big. So we can have this unbelievable nutrition on the go. And it's certainly something I've been doing already. And even I think when we're having our conversations with athletes, people that are looking to push their gym performance, they maybe don't want to commit to the whole bag yet, we can now sample it with them at fit camps and nutrition clubs, whatever the method of operation is that you run your business, you can be using these rebuild sachets. It's a fantastic way to start that conversation. Hopefully they can see the benefit from there. But tell us, Gavin, what are you excited about for the future? Now, I know we can't reveal all the secrets, right? But I know there's a few areas we're moving into that you're excited about. So you could give us a little sneak peek into the future, get the guys excited.
Yes, so you touched on it right towards the start of this talk, Nicola, was HL Skin. Very, very exciting launch, and I'm sure everyone will agree it's an amazing range of products. They look fabulous, the new packaging, the new products. So we continue to work on new products, so you'll be seeing more products arriving first half of this year, and we're now working on phase 2 of HL Skin, and we're also working on a sort of phase 3 as well on some other exciting products. Linked to that is the whole beauty from within piece. We've spoke today about collagen skin booster. We are looking at other ingredients to address hydration concerns. We're looking at an ingredient that will address photoaging concerns. So looking to see if we build out, a range of beauty from within products. Gen Z is starting to, we're getting a lot of more sort of information from our marketing team about, this is a population we should be appealing to. So we're looking at products in that side, and longevity as well, Nicola. This is another area of interest for the company and for the scientists looking at ingredients around that whole piece.
Perfect. Thank you, Gavin. So lots of exciting things to come. And yeah, I'm almost overwhelmed again, as much as I've already had this information from you now a few times. It's just really exciting. It's giving me more confidence. Hopefully for you guys on the call, you've got tons of confidence. You feel that these products are completely credible. There are tons of people, and that's what I'd encourage you to do, is to write down, as Gavin has been speaking, who you could talk to these products about. But if I could leave you with some top tips, with all things Herbalife, it starts with us. We cannot talk and we cannot be passionate about something that we don't use ourselves. It's a real struggle, because we do pride ourselves on not being salespeople. Everything is about a service. Everything is about sharing a personal experience. So if you've heard something about a product that you would love to experience, a benefit you'd love to experience yourself, first things first, you try it yourself first. Maybe you try it for a month and then you feel the difference, maybe a couple of months. And then once you feel that difference, You can take it to your customer base. You can take it to your team of distributors, and you can tell them your story. Okay, and that is a fantastic way to get started. So, and I'm not saying try everything in month one because you want to know where you're feeling the benefit, but maybe try a new product this month and a next one in March and a next one in April, and figure out where those benefits are coming from those specific products, because we cannot speak passionately and it's very difficult for you to be able to share a product, to sell a product that you do not absolutely love yourself. And that's really my philosophy, and I can speak really honestly and really authentically about that because I do use everything that Gavin has spoken about, everything we've talked about today. And then in your wellness evaluations, now I'm going to assume no matter how you run your business, you're having a wellness evaluation or some sort of presentation on the front end. I hope that no one is just selling products without getting to know and build a relationship with your customers. And we've heard it in Herbalife often. Questions are the answers. And what I mean by that is during your evaluation, you have to make space to ask those questions, not just about what weight do you want to lose or do you want to be fitter. I pride myself on being really quite a nosy person. I like to know everything about someone's life because the more I know about them, the more I can help them. It's as simple as that. What I don't know, I can't suggest and I can't recommend. So I'm always, and I would encourage you to do the same, make sure your evaluation, your presentation has these questions. So you're asking yes about their initial goals, but they maybe don't know that you can help them with these other things. So make sure you ask, how is your gut health? Okay, and then you've got that information. And you might not recommend a product straight away, but you've got it in the back of your mind if this persists after they're started with an initial plan. How are your cholesterol levels? How are you sleeping? How is your immune health? And by asking these questions, again, you're giving yourself information that you can use later on if these are still issues. And again, you're asking because you care. In Herbalife, we absolutely care about our clients' results, and they feel that when you ask those questions. We're not jumping straight to product. We're asking the questions of them, not talking about ourselves, but really making them feel valued and feeling that you really want to understand everything and how we can help them. Ask them about their workouts. Do they feel strong till the end? Do they feel like their fitness is improving? So slot these questions into your evaluations to give you ammunition. How do they feel about their skin? How do they feel about how it looks? How do they feel about the texture? Are they bothered by cellulite? Again, because we know we've got the recommendations, we've got the answers. And that's just in the beginning. Hopefully you've got a community of some sort, be it online, be it physical, a nutrition club, a fit camp, 24 games, it doesn't matter. But in your community, you'll be having more of these conversations as well. And you have to stay curious during the follow-up. Now, again, whether you're doing re-evaluations, whether you're putting people back on the Tanita scale, whoever it is you follow up when it comes time for them to upgrade, again, you've got to ask those questions. So you're getting great results. Are there any challenges still lingering? Anything still hanging around? Do you still have bother with this? Do you still have bother with that? And again, now you've built that relationship, they're already getting great results. They're happy to take your recommendation, I find, to try another product, to add another thing in that might help them if that's necessary. Okay. So I'm not always selling people 20 products in the first evaluation. That is not the case. I usually start them on a healthy breakfast, maybe a second shake at lunchtime, maybe some snacks, and then target nutrition, usually a little bit after the fact. Yeah. And then you're going to share your knowledge. If you've been on this call, hopefully you've taken video, you've taken notes, and now you've got that experience, you can talk about the relevant product. And one thing I really recommend is using third-party verification. And what that really means is someone else's story. And you can do that if you have community in your business. For example, if I've just had someone who's been using collagen for a month, and I've got someone I've just been telling about collagen, I don't always tell them everything about it. I say, sit down, speak to Jim. Jim's been using collagen for a month. Jim, tell Gavin about your results with collagen. And Jim is telling him, he's feeling this difference in his skin and maybe cellulite and so on. And when Jim is telling the story, it's different from me telling the story, because now it's someone who doesn't have a vested interest in this prospect potentially using the product. So when another customer story is sometimes more powerful, your initial experience, yes, but then another customer saying the same thing is incredibly powerful. And then it takes the workload off of you as well. And I hear it all the time. We work in a nutrition club, but this works in any environment, whether it's an online business and you've got people, commenting and chatting amongst each other, whether it's in your fit camp or wherever around your kitchen table. When people are talking, I can hear them talking about products they're experiencing themselves without me having to help. Okay, so if you've got customers having a great experience, make sure they are sharing that experience. You're also empowering them to tell their story, which ideally we want more stories anyway, and they can tell it in a great way. So guys, there have been a ton of information. We will leave it there because it's been a lot. And for me, it's honestly been a real honour to be on this call with Gavin again. It's been great to just get to know you, Gavin, and just for me, from a selfish perspective, to get more information that I can take to market and help me with my business and help my customers get even better results. Team Herbalife, I hope you've taken lots of great value from it. For you guys that will be in Krakow, hopefully that'll be most of you, we will see you at Extravaganza. And if you're not yet at that level of supervisor and you want to push on for the next Extravaganza, I encourage you to do that. And the first and the easiest way you can do that is by getting to know more of these products and taking more of these products to your customers. That's going to help you get even quicker to your 50% supervisor and well on the way to the next Extravaganza as well. But Team Herbalife, thank you so much. Thank you, Gavin. You can rest easier now. And hopefully we'll see more of you in the future as well. And I wish you guys all the best in 2026. Make it your best Herbalife year yet. Thank you, guys.